iPhone 13 Pro Max. The first thing I want to say is, obviously, we've got 4 new iPhones this time. Arguably, the 13 mini and the 13, they are incremental updates. So arguably, they could be the 12Ss, right? And I agree with that to a certain extent. My point was, though, with the improvements that you get and the storage version is doubled now. So if we compare the 128 version of the iPhone mini and the iPhone 13 compared to last year, you're actually getting a significant discount essentially for the devices. So sure, they're incremental updates, but I think based on last year's pricing, they have been priced well. Okay, that's my opinion of the 13s, which I'll just kind of leave there. The 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max, however, in my opinion, do have lots of improvements, some of which I would say are significant. First being, which I want to talk about, is the battery life. So for me, the 13 Pro Max has been like the 12 Pro Max had great battery life. Don't get me wrong, but the 13 Pro Max for me has had excellent battery life. Like I've been hammering this thing, use video, photos all day, and I'm still left with a decent amount of battery at the end of the day, like 40% at some points, which is crazy. Partly that might be I'm so impressed because I've been using the Flip recently, and the Flip does not have, Samsung Galaxy Z3 Flip does not have good battery life. I'm just going to put that out there. What has your experience been in the battery life? Has it been the same as me?
I'm sorry. I've heard from you and from a lot of people that the battery life on the 13 Pro Max has been fantastic. That's the word I use. That I'm hearing from a lot of people. I won't pass judgment yet because I've been gaming more on the device, which is more intensive in terms of battery drain. So that hasn't given me a good gauge, but I will say it does still feel better than the 12 Pro Max. In terms of just gaming sessions, when I started from 100 with the 12 Pro Max, even with the Mini too, even when I did with the Mini itself, I saw an improvement over last year. So on the very barest minimum, it's better than last year across the board. I'll put it that way.
So if you have had experience with any of the previous year iPhones, any of the 12s, they have been improved across the board for the 13. So that was something that I was very happy to see. Now, we're going to come on to gaming in a second. ProMotion displays. This is something we've been asking for a long time. We wanted. Now, we've got it, 120 hertz. Everything is super smooth. I'm very happy with it. I really like the displays. And, some people are like, oh, but we've had, 120 hertz displays for some time. We've only had LTPO displays with adaptive refresh rates that go all the way down to 10 hertz more recently, because if we look at the Note 20 Ultra last year, although that did have a 120 hertz display, you could only use that when you were at full HD, so you'd have to compromise on the resolution, right? It was the S21 Ultra this year, which was like the biggest flagship that had the high resolution with the adaptive refresh rate. So yes, Apple has come in a little bit later, but I still think it's great having this. And for day-to-day use, I think it's amazing. It's something that I definitely do notice and I do appreciate. You as a gamer, how much does that mean to you?
I mean, it's great to see. I haven't seen the games yet. That part I'm still waiting for. And I know that does come with time. Although I had a feeling, I was hoping that Apple would have worked with at least a few game developers
behind the scenes,
just behind the scenes, just to get that crispy title where you're like, ooh, this feels really good. But even though you're playing games and the games are running at 60 frames, you can still feel the difference because that really smooth glide.
I agree with you that it would have been nice to have had some launch titles for the full 120 hertz experience. A few more, like just kind of having those there, but they're going to be coming soon. And he's going to be covering a lot of these on his channel because he's definitely a gamer. Now, on the topic of gaming, like obviously to game you're going to need performance. Now, for me, the A15 Bionic again has been super snappy, and I think the noticeable thing is the fact that it's got a 5-core GPU on the 13 Pro Max compared to the 4-core GPU on the 13 Mini and the 13. So that's something that I think is not everybody's going to get to use both of them side by side, but that's something you do notice. As a gamer, again, how much what's the performance been like on the A15 for you, and how does that 5-core GPU work for you?
If you're gonna run certain games that really max out, graphical settings and all that kind of stuff, you definitely need a 5-core GPU. Prime example is Genshin Impact. I did my gaming review on the Pro Max and then the Mini, so basically two ends of the spectrums. Same chip, but one has four GPU cores, the other has 5, which is of course the Mini versus the Max. And the Max, I think, was between 42 to 46 frames per second. The Mini was between, I believe, 33 and 30 to 37. So that's a full 10 FPS below. So that's what you're missing from that, I would say. So, but in general, I mean, like all your other games, most of your other games, like it's going to run it really well. You shouldn't have any issues or things like that. I just want to see some better thermals in this, because I spoke to you about this. My video is probably up by the time you listen to this about the iPad mini and how that ran all the games perfectly. I mean, like there was just nothing wrong. No slowdowns, none of that stuff. And also the temperatures were really, really low. Then again, it's also a bigger device, bigger surface area. Devices like the iPhone.
Dissipation,
Exactly. Devices like the iPhone require thermals, especially since gaming is so big on the iPhone. The gaming is huge. So to me, in a sense, I would love to see Apple tackle some of that, especially, moving forward to what maybe a redesign, as we're hearing rumors of the iPhone 14 might look like.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you there. So it's interesting because there's a couple of things there. Like we have the A15 on the 13 mini, as well as on the Pros, and the iPad mini. However, it's not the same, because it might just sound like a little bit on paper, one extra core GPU, but as you're saying, when it comes to games, it actually does make quite an impact, right? And I agree with you. Obviously, the iPad mini, even though it's a mini, it's spread out. The heat dissipation is much more in terms of the surface area. So that also helps on that side as well. That's a performance. For me, it's been top notch. I'm not somebody who games too much, but in terms of day-to-day performance, it's been really, really good. And I think it's going to last people, a good while as well. Maybe you're not somebody who does lots of gaming. Maybe you just want this to last you, a good few years. It's been good. Right. Cameras. So I want to talk about the cameras. Now, what's interesting about the 13 Pro Max is all of the rear-facing cameras have been improved. They're new cameras altogether, right? You got larger sensors across the board. I think that we've got some really good improvements in the cameras. The ultra-wide camera has been improved, although arguably, you can see my camera comparison. Ultra-wide camera, I still prefer the S21 Ultra. However, when it comes to the primary camera, excellent quality photos, really good dynamic range, very crisp, as expected. The telephoto camera, yes, it's not extreme zoom, but the 3x portraits, they look so good. And the LiDAR scanner means that the edges are so, like, I'm posting pictures and people are like, it looks like it's from a DSLR. And I think portrait mode at that 3x, because it's 77 millimeters. Remember when I was getting you, when we were in Hawaii and you were taking pictures, and I was like, no, dude, you need to use the telephoto lens, because when you use the telephoto lens, it makes you look a little bit bigger, and it's like, damn, I look jacked. And he's like, okay, cool, this is what I'm going to use from now on. Now you can use the 3x and you're going to look even more jacked. But essentially, portraits 50 millimeters and above look the best generally. 50 millimeters is roughly what I see. 77 gives you a bit more of a, I would say, more of a professional portrait look, right? And I really like it, and I think it does such a good job, especially thanks to that LiDAR scanner. It does a really good job, right? So I've been very impressed with the photos. Macro photography we've got now. Yes, this is something that has been around for a couple of years on other smartphones. Refocusing using the ultra-wide camera. Excellent macro shots. Very happy with those as well. And video for me, I've said this many times before, but I think the iPhone still takes the best quality video across the board on any smartphone. We've got HDR with Dolby Vision, looks really, really good. And we've also got cinematic mode. It's a fun feature. I don't think I'd be using it all the time. I'm going to ask you, because you did a video recently comparing the cinematic mode to Samsung's portrait mode video. What are your thoughts overall on the cameras?
So in terms of cameras, look, video, let's just put it out the window. Yes, iPhone video is still the best.
Okay.
Across the board.
This is from a heavy Android user as well. It's coming, so it's not just me that people are gonna just say I'm an Apple fanboy, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's hands down. I mean, it's very, very good. When it comes to photos, I will say low light photos, they have a very slight edge against the Galaxy, but again, it's pick and choose. It's not that big of a gap anymore in my mind. I think it's certain things that the iPhone does well. What I've noticed this year is the iPhone has been trying to make the colors more neutral, and Samsung is still taking colors, because I have a lot of yellow street lamps. So the iPhone is color correcting it, which is pleasing, but it's not accurate to the scene. So that's, again, but then that's a bit of a preference per se, as well. So if you're looking for something that captures the scene, the Galaxy will do that. The iPhone will give you something that looks like, oh wow, that's a nice photo.
Design, right? It's pretty much the same as the 12 Pro Max and the 12 series, right? I like the blue. I think it looks quite nice. I do like the shade of this blue. It's a big phone. That's one thing that I'm going to mention. That, look, if you're getting the Pro Max, it's a big phone. It's heavier than before as well. So it's also, a heavy phone. I mean, granted, we get a bigger battery and it's appreciated, but it's also a heavy phone, and it has flat edges, right? Flat edges look really good, but if you're looking at comfortability, right, I would not say that this is the most comfortable device to use out there, because it's very big, it's very heavy, and it's got sharp edges, right? So I would say, for a lot of people, the Pro will be good, because the Pro is not actually, you're not losing out on anything apart from the smaller size and the smaller battery. You don't have, all the cameras are the same. You've still got ProMotion, all of that, right? So I'd say for a lot of people, the Pro is probably going to be the better option. I'd say try it out in hand. Obviously, it depends on who it is and what you think, but it just comes down. I would say just keep that in mind personally. That's something that I would put a note on after using this for a week. If you are thinking about going for the Pro Max.
Sorry, quick word. Singala just told me, go big or go home. Pro Max all the way. Sorry. just had to put that out.
Okay, special message from Singala. Right. The last thing I want to talk about is Face ID. So Face ID, I like it. It's good. But the problem is, and I keep saying this, is right now I'm still having to wear masks in a lot of places, especially if I'm traveling, right? And it gets super annoying having to, just do the whole passcode thing and all the rest of it, right? I wish that they had an in-display fingerprint scanner, or even if it wasn't in-display, on the side. There's a home button on the side, have it on there, on the Apple logo at the back. Somewhere I would have liked to have a fingerprint scanner. That's just like my wish list, and I maybe by next year when the iPhone 14 is out, masks will hopefully be a thing of the past. But especially traveling, we're going to be using masks for the next 6 months, I would say, at least, right? So that's something that I would have liked to have seen as well.
No, I do agree, especially after using the Mini and going like, oh my God, yes, fingerprint, yeah, oh great, I don't have to put in my code. Those are the kind of things that
He's talking about the iPad Mini, by the way, not the iPhone Mini. Yeah.
iPad Mini, yes, I apologize.
So iPhone 13 Pro Max, really good device. My SIM card's in here alongside I have 2 SIM cards, but my SIM card's in here. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'll do a more in-depth 1 month later review on the main channel, so stay tuned for that as well. You can see all of the other content we've already posted. I hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to hear the full podcast episode, then that will be linked down below. And if you want to see more clips like this, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss them. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf Speaks, and I'll see you next time.